Had some time to celebrate a little bit. Not celebrating Pittsburgh, are they? Wake up this morning, they fired their offensive coordinator. The Browns defense will do that to people. They will do that to people. They will make you question everything and fire Matt Canada. Ryan, let's be honest, that was a long time coming. But nonetheless, when you face that Browns defense, there's a lot of questions over there. And I think it's actually kind of with where we sit today. The Chiefs falling last night. The Cleveland Browns start this morning with the same amount of wins as the Dolphins, the same amount of wins as the Chiefs. And not only a half game back of the Baltimore Ravens for the AFC North, a half game back for the number 1 seed in the AFC. And there's a lot of football to be played. And I'm still basking in the glory that is Victory Monday from yesterday and that Browns win over the Steelers on Sunday. But now we start to turn our attention a little forward. And now we start to take a look on where the Browns are at. They're in a prime position to make the playoffs, but they still need wins. You finish 7-10, you don't win another game, well, you're not going to make the playoffs. I'll tell you that much. The Browns still need a few more wins. We know they can be there. We know there's some opponents you should beat. The question is DTR. And I think there is a bigger question out there about the recalibration, if you will, of your expectations with Dorian Thompson-Robinson at the helm of the Cleveland Browns. We got our 2 for Tuesday question surrounding that. I want to get into a bigger conversation about DTR. I've got power rankings. I've got hot seats, and I'm happy to say that Kevin Stefanski is not on that list. We'll talk about that. We'll talk to Ben Axelrod. Awful announcing. Ben, longtime Clevelander, WKYC, and frankly, he has been my number 1 source of information on this Ohio State-Michigan thing. We'll spend a lot of time with it because Ben has just been enthralled in this Ohio State-Michigan game this weekend and everything going on with Michigan. We got Time Hop. We got the morning update. We got everything for you, including a brand new Tipico boost for the Cavs tonight. We got it all for you right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Ryan Tyler. Good morning on a little bit of a dreary Tuesday. Now, I'll tell you this, Ryan. I am of an age now that Turkey Bowl is out. Okay, I have retired. And I will probably go back one day to maybe, play if like my son's in a game. And I remember like my dad, like any kid growing up in Cleveland, every Thursday of Thanksgiving morning, it was where were we playing, who's showing up. And shout out to my friends growing up. And it's a little sad that my friend of this, he passed away, but I have such great memories, dude. For 8 years in a row, we showed up at my friend's house, the same group of guys every year, and we'd go play Thanksgiving football. You evolve into college, and I played in a tournament in college for football. My dad would always show up and come watch it. Just such amazing memories. Like, that's some of my favorite things about Thanksgiving. But I will tell you, at the age of 34, I'm retired for now. Again, my son might want to play one day, and maybe I'll get back out there, but I'm retired for now. But the reason I bring it up is I would be ecstatic that it's raining today. You get a nice soft ground come Thursday morning. Now, if it freezes, we're in a load of hurt. You ever play football in a frozen field? Not good. It hurts. And you always had that guy out there that felt like there was an NFL scout in the stands. And I think the last game I ever played, somebody tried to cut block me. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going for an ACL surgery because some guy's living out glory years trying to cut me on a block in backyard football for Turkey Bowl. So I'm done. I'm out, John. I'm done. I'm out. But today would be a prime day. You wanted it to rain today so the ground would be a little soft. Wednesday we'll see, and then you could wake up Thursday. I mean, dude, I can't tell you how many I played when it was snow on the ground for Thanksgiving, for Turkey Bowl. So it is Thanksgiving week. We do have a little element of Thanksgiving for our 2 for Tuesday, which we'll get to coming up a little bit later in the show. For the Browns, off day today. They make the announcement yesterday we're all waiting for. Not Joe Flacco. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is your starting quarterback moving forward for the Cleveland Browns. Flacco is here. Coach said he provides this stability. He provides that veteran leadership in that locker room. And really, I think just helping Dorian Thompson-Robinson. My biggest thing, we'll talk a lot of DTR this morning. My biggest thing about Flacco being here is quarterback is the one position, if you have a young guy, I require to have a veteran backup. You didn't need that with Deshaun Watson. But even when Baker Mayfield was here, you gave him Case Keenum. You gave him Drew Stanton to just sit down. And I know Alex Van Pelt's a former NFL quarterback, but there's some level of saying, hey, man, what do you see on this play? Like when you would drop back, what do you see? That is so important. And I know Deshaun will be around, but like he's going to be in LA this week. He's getting shoulder surgery. He can only do so much. And I like PJ Walker, but I like Flacco coming in. I love Flacco, not because I necessarily want to see him play, but that Dorian Thompson-Robinson can pick his brain, knowing that no shot at Joe Flacco. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is more athletic than Joe Flacco could ever have hoped to be. So there's an element to DTR's game that Flacco can't help him with. But the reading of defenses, the handling of situations, all that from Flacco, I think is great. I think that's awesome for him being here because we are now in on DTR. Okay. I think I saw a lot of people with the same idea, the same thought that I have. This is now DTR's team. And I will ride this out with Dorian Thompson-Robinson until the wheels fall off. There's a chance that they do. And that's when you have Joe Flacco. But Ryan, I'm even talking, I'll put up with multiple rough games from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Like, I'm starting him until I can't anymore, whether it's due to injury or it's just so bad and you're facing a game of like a must-win to go to the playoff type thing. This is all in on DTR. This is it. And I like the move. I like the decision just to make it and run with that. But we look at our expectations now for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And let's post this on Twitter, at Matt Fontana Show. How many wins this season for Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Over, under 3.5. Now, the thing is, he's already got one. I'll give him one. I'll give him the one that he has. And I'm not, and Ryan, I mean, people might even look at that and say, you mean over under 3.5 of the 7 games left? No, like he's already got one. He's already got one. Do you think he's going to get 3 more wins to push that over? And the reason I bring that number up, that's your 10 wins. That's your 10 wins to make the playoffs. Do you think Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to get you 4 wins as the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns this season? Vote on that. That's our first 2 for Tuesday. As always, 2 questions, 2 answers, and we'll post that first one up there at Matt Fontana Show. Drop us a follow there if you can. To say that you had to turn it over to a 5th-round rookie quarterback in the stretch run of your season to try to make the playoffs, I don't think many teams would want to sign up for that. That is the world that we live in. And people are going to look at this question the right way. You can look at the schedule and you can have your ideas of who we're playing. And I think it's probably more where a lot of fans are at of the evolution of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, knowing what? He's going to get better. You assume that after Sunday's game, there's a little bit more for them to work on. The comfortability of DTR in this offense, those are all going to be trending up. The arrow is pointing up. But you got to remember, and I'm trying not to put the cart before the horse here, he still is a rookie. He still is finding his way in the NFL, and he wasn't projected to be your starter. That's a tough road to go. But they got to find a way to figure that all out and get your wins. And people, I read, sometimes I can see the tweets in the Twitter inbox, Ryan, before they come. And people say, this isn't all on Dorian Thompson-Robinson. No. This is on the defense. I understand that. But the win, and I know Mina Kimes, because it's in her bio, that win should not be a quarterback stat. This is one that we're going to put on DTR. How many wins does he get on the way out here for the Browns? Then we talk about the recalibration of expectations. Where when the season started, I think we all asked for the playoffs. There was no real question on that. I asked for the division, still very attainable. But in reality, were you thinking AFC Championship? Were you thinking Super Bowl? And I'd love to hear from people this morning. What is it today? What is it today? Is it enough to just make the playoffs? Here's a great question. Are you still asking the Browns to win a playoff game? I think the vast majority of fans in August, if I asked them, do you expect the Browns to win a playoff game this year? The answer would have been yes. Do you still feel the same way? Do you still feel like the bottom bar for this team is to win a playoff game? Now, I know that beyond that, it might be really hard, and I don't know who that matchup will be against. It could be Baltimore. If they don't get the number one, could you imagine having to play the Chiefs right now? How pissed off. I mean, the over didn't hit on our boost yesterday. The rain, we should have looked at the weather, but I also had credits just on the Chiefs -2.5 and Marquez Valdez, Scantling. That was a good game last night, though. That was a fun game last night. Chiefs have some problems, man. Do you see that stat that they're bringing up with them? They have the worst second half offense in football.
Wow.
Nobody scores less points in the second half of games than the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's what bit them in the ass yesterday. All you needed was some points. You couldn't get them. So they're reeling a little bit this morning. And that's another, you talk about the playoff picture in the AFC. I know people this morning are a little subject on the Chiefs, and you're like, all right, are they still lit? They're still pretty good. Defense is good. I think Baltimore is maybe a step ahead of where everybody thought. And people kind of question Miami after that tough Raiders game. And the Browns are right there. Literally, in the AFC playoff picture, they are staring right down the barrel of the Jags and the Dolphins and the Chiefs and all these teams that you expected to run the AFC. Browns are there. One of these things is not like the other, though, Ryan. Tua Tagovailoa, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Go get him, buddy. I mean, that's the tough thing of where we're at. And the Browns boast of that group the best defense that they have of that. But that's where, what are you still expecting from this team? And if you want to come back and say everything is bonus, if the Browns make the playoffs, that's a bonus for all the hell that we had to catch this year. I'll listen to that. I can understand that completely. If you still have those high expectations of winning a playoff game, I can't deny that either. With how good this defense is, maybe you just need Dorian Thompson-Robinson to keep things afloat, and your defense can go win you a playoff game. Super Bowl, AFC Championship. Hey, if that's how you still feel, I'd love to hear you in the Twitter inbox at Matt Fontana 83, at Matt Fontana Show, and at Ryan Tyler 33. Our Twitter question is up. Over under 3.5 wins for DTR's the Browns starting quarterback, knowing that he already has one. That's the magic number. 4 wins for DTR gets you in the playoffs. You got one. And people will look at the Browns' schedule, rightly so, and kind of maybe play a little bit of a schedule game. Okay, you go out to face a Denver team, which mile high. Can Dustin Hopkins hit a 75-yarder at mile high? Thinner air up there. I don't put anything past the leg. So you're at the Denver Broncos. Then they're staying out there to do a little trip. They're going to practice at UCL. Oh, well, wait a minute. Little homecoming there for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Get him a little bit of, I don't know, little rah-rah going there into the Rams game. But I would say the Broncos and Rams, all right, if we play it out this way, I think the Broncos and Rams is one win. Either one of those teams. Maybe more the Rams than the Broncos, but I think that could be one. I don't quite chalk the Bears up yet. I want to, and maybe I should, where there's your 2, and then you have no business losing to the Jets on Thursday Night Football with Tim O'Boyle rules at quarterback. And then the last one, the Cincinnati Bengals. What JV squad quarterback are they going to? You might have to see A.J. McCarron in that game. He's on their practice squad. I think Jake Browning's their backup, whatever. You have no business losing to the Bengals. So at worst, you have at least 2 more wins. I know that. You're going to win one of those games against the Broncos, the Rams, and the Bears. Then I look at the Bengals and you look at the Jets. I think the answer is over. And to get 4 wins with him to propel you to the playoffs, that's a damn good job out of Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We're playing the schedule game a little bit here. But Ryan, I'm going to cast the vote this morning, and I think it is over that 3.5 wins for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I do.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a betting man and betting this, I would bet the over too. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult than we're anticipating because you look at the kind of those teams that I guess you could call them throwaway teams, right? Which that being
the Bengals are a throwaway team. Yeah.
That being the Bengals, now that Burrow's out, that being the Bears, and that being the Rams, despite them winning last week. So Jets
throwaway. I mean, I could listen.
Yeah, they're about a game away from being a throwaway team, I'd say. But so it's the magic number 3.5. It should go over, but I think it's gonna be a little bit more dicey and close than we're anticipating.
Yeah, I don't think you're talking about a runaway here, but I think you're gonna get close. All right, before we continue on with the Browns and before we get to our second two for Tuesday, we have a boost on Tipico, folks. We're going to post this. Our friends at Tipico, we talk so much about the boost. A big Cavs game tonight. They take on the Philadelphia 76ers. This is a 7.5-point spread, which I think is a little weird. Am I wrong for that, Ryan? Like, I guess the biggest question is Donovan Mitchell. He missed the last game with a hamstring. We do got to talk some Cavs. We'll do that Ben Axelrod coming up a little bit too. But the people coming out of the woodwork starting to question Donovan Mitchell with his hamstring, it really kind of bothers me. Can we jump onto that for a second? I know that Donovan Mitchell will I'm conditioning myself that Donovan Mitchell will leave the Cavaliers one day. That's fine. There is no point of me that is going to regret that trade. Not now, not in the future, for everything that he's brought. Yeah, Colin Sexton hit that shot the other day to take him to double overtime, and Lauri Markkanen was comeback player of the year. There's no part of that trade that I regret. And I'm glad to see the Jazz. It worked out for them too. That's fine. But these people that it's almost like they can't enjoy it because they're already at the place of Donovan Mitchell not being here. And even if he leaves, knowing that door that's not a for sure. Okay, I know he was from New York. I know his dad worked for the Mets. I know he loves the Knicks. He might go there one day. But I'm going to enjoy him while he's here and while he's playing. So for people to jump on this, what does he really want to play? He's got a hamstring injury. It's November 21st. You want to force Donovan Mitchell to go out there and play on a bum hamstring in November? You cannot be that stupid. You cannot be that stupid. Some of those people out there. Not you, Ryan. The people out there.
You'd be surprised, Matt.
I guess I should be. Twitter's can be a really stupid place a lot of times. But good Lord. And I know that's a group of just the haters. That group is in every fan base. They just hate. And they're hating on is Donovan Mitchell really pushing to get out there? I'm not going to name it. I can't do it.
I remember when Donovan pulled up to the Browns game in that Lamar jersey, and people were like freaking out. Like, dude, he went to Louisville.
What do you want? What do you expect?
They want him to be an Ohio State and Browns fan because he plays in Cleveland.
Well, there was a little thing that got circulated yesterday from a writer that made some insinuations about Donovan Mitchell that I don't appreciate, to be honest with you. I think that's pretty bullcrap. Dude, his hamstring could have a little twinge, and I would go, yeah, sit out. Sit out. Is this a play-in tournament game tonight? I think it is. Or the play-in tournament. That stupid in-season tournament.
Yeah,
whatever.
It is.
Stop everything. Put Donovan Mitchell's hamstring on the line for a stupid in-season tournament for the NBA to make more money. Must-win game for the Cavs tonight. Bothers me. 76ers are 10-3. They're a damn good basketball team. We'll get into our trends a little bit later, but we want to get our boost up. So this is how it works. We're going to start getting our own boost on Tipico. If you're not signed up yet, we have a new code. Do we not, Ryan?
Big Play 100.
So here's what it is. And walk me through this. You bet 25, you get 100 in bonus bets.
That's right.
Thank you. You bet 25 on Tipico. For new customers with our friends at Tipico, you download the app. You bet 25 on anything you want. You can just do the biggest money line spread if you want. And you'll get, just to win your 25 back and then to get whatever else you want, you get the $100 in bonus bets. So again, you bet 25, you get that 100 in bonus bets with our friends at Tipico. Big Play 100 is the code when you sign up at Tipico. And then our show boost is going to get up there on the app. They said they might get that up really soon. I'll tell you what It is, but I just don't know what the boost is yet because obviously it's not just a standard parlay. They boosted up for us. So we picked this morning over Max Strus, 2.5 threes. This one was mine, which I really liked. Evan Mobley combined rebounds and points over 25.5. He gets you 16 points and 10 boards. You're cashed. And then we'll take the Cavs on the spread at plus 7.5. So that's the latest boost that we have for us. That's our show boost. And we'll tweet that out once they get that populated there on the app. Very excited about that. So check it out with our friends at Tipico. Download the app today and use that code BigPlay100. So I want to get that out for the people. We'll talk a lot more Cavs a little bit later on. I'm sure getting pissed off about Donovan Mitchell and these people out there thinking, dude, it's November. It's November. You want him to run out there with a bad hamstring in November? Then they be the same people when it's a nagging injury come March, and they go, well, you should have probably sat him earlier. Oh, man, the management of his hamstring. People suck. People suck. All right, our second 2 for Tuesday. Always 2 questions, 2 answers. Tis the season, Ryan. Thanksgiving. Stuffing. Overrated, underrated. It's that simple. Stuffing. Overrated, underrated. I think it's a very polarizing topic, I think, for some people. Again, some people out there, I think, just want to be naysayers and they say, oh, stuffing sucks. Stuffing is delicious. It is amazing. It's one of my favorite things on Thanksgiving. My grandma had a killer recipe. It's so good. My mom does that recipe now. It's one of my favorite things. Actually, one of my favorite things about Thanksgiving, Ryan, is that about, 8:30 as the late NFL game is kicking off, you sit back down with your leftover plate, and I'll have pumpkin pie and stuffing on the plate as my late night. And that, it's perfect. Not saying I didn't gorge myself at 4 o'clock, but come 8 o'clock, 8:30, it's time for that leftover plate. Big heap and a stuffing and a big slice of pumpkin pie. That's where, or apple pie, however you want to do it. Delicious. That's where it's at. So stuffing is up at Matt Fontana Show. Overrated, underrated. It is that simple. Vote on those 2. We'll update those as we go on. Back into Dorian Thompson-Robinson, where with the Browns, what they did on Sunday, I dare say, might be hard to replicate. The stats came out this morning. I think a lot of people saw them. I know I saw it from Jake Burns of the OBR, that the Browns had one of the quickest offenses in the NFL as far as time to pass in the NFL. I think they said something like it was the 6th fastest game in the NFL this season as far as a quarterback getting the ball and the ball out. Getting the ball and getting the ball out. And that is to negate that pass rush from the Steelers. We know during the game the Steelers started jumping those routes. They got some hands on some footballs. You're going to have to see this next evolution of Dorian Thompson-Robinson in this offense. And I know that's a lot to ask and that it's a little unfair, but that is the world that we live in. You are coming down the stretch against some teams that have some decent defenses, okay? We saw the Broncos. They still have good players on that defense. You still have to deal with Aaron Donald with the Rams. There are teams that you're going to go up against that are going to make the changes. That quick stuff, it's got to be there to a point. Eventually, you're going to have to stretch the field. Eventually, you're going to have to put it, Dorian Thompson-Robinson dropping back, and I know there's questions on that offensive line, and hopefully you can get DeJuan Jones back. But that next evolution, I think, is something that could be a reason for a little bit of pessimism when it comes to Dorian Thompson-Robinson on if you think you're going to get to that over-under. Again, we're asking everybody the over-under for wins for Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the Cleveland Browns. He already got 1. He's at 3.5. Do you think he does enough to get there to the playoffs for the Cleveland Browns? And the nice thing is they have the time to get some of this stuff figured out. Now you know he's your starter. Now you know you have a time to fix it up and try to change a little bit on this offense. And there will be some changes. There will be some changes on what plays you're running, what you install for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But I guess the way I look at it, Ryan, the way to sum that up is eventually the training wheels are going to have to come off. And you have to do that with any young player. Sometimes you throw them right in the fire and say, you got to figure this out, man. You're on your own. I'm going to ask him to do that in a playoff run. I'm going to ask them to do that in a stretch run for a playoff team. It's not an easy job. That's not.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the schedule, you kind of wonder what game we're going to really see them try to stretch the field, because obviously when you're playing a team like the Steelers, who has an amazing pass rush, and then, we're going into Denver, which is already a hard stadium to play in, let alone for a rookie, whose defense, by the way, has been playing pretty much out of their minds these last 5 weeks as Sean Payton turned things around there. So then you go, look, okay, we come home and we have the Bears, right?
Yes.
So you wonder, okay, maybe that'll be the game we see kind of let loose. DTR can kind of do his thing back home, comfortable in front of the dog pound. But it'll be
actually, they
interesting.
have the Jags right before that.
Jags. Okay.
So they're on this West Coast trip. Broncos, Rams. I asked them to split that. That's it. And then you're home against the Jags, and then you're home against the Bears.
Yeah. So especially as we're about to make a playoff push, I mean, if we don't have that downfield dimension, especially without Nick Chubb now, we're not going to win a game in the playoffs. It's safe to say that.
Can I do a little projection here for you for a second? So I'm looking at the Browns' schedule, and the game you mentioned on December 10th, which is Week 14, the Browns and Jags at Cleveland Browns Stadium. Oh, I was going to see if it should be flexed to Sunday Night Football. It will not be, because that Sunday night game is the Eagles-Cowboys. That ain't getting flexed out. So, unfortunately on that. Because I'd like to think the Browns might deserve another playoff, okay, what about the next week? Christmas Eve? Texans? Oh, sorry, we got the Bears. That's not going to be at the next week. So week 16, Christmas week, your Sunday night game is New England, Denver. Maybe they flex out Cleveland, Houston there, a little Sunday night action. I could keep an eye on that.
That'd be nice.
I could keep an eye on that. Little CJ Stroud. I could take an eye on that. Oh, and then Monday on Christmas. How about this for Christmas Day? Raiders at Chiefs, 1 o'clock. Giants, Philly at 4:30. Christmas night, you get Baltimore, San Francisco. That's going to be a fun game. They got the Black Friday game this week. I know that because I've been inundated with the promo for every single primetime game I've watched the last 2 weeks. They're really going hard on that Black Friday game. That's going to be exciting. All right, let's do this. Let's catch a break. I'm really excited. We're going to talk to Ben Axelrod when we return. Ben, Ben has been so in on this Michigan cheating scandal thing that I had to have him on this week. I had to have him on. He's formerly KYC's with awful announcing now. I want to talk Ohio State, Michigan with him. We'll certainly talk Browns, talk Cavs, talk literally everything with Ben. He is going to join us next. Stay with us. Fontana Show right here on Big Play. right, we're back here on Big Play, Matt Fontana Show. He is Ryan Tyler, and we bring in Ben Axelrod from Awful announcing the comeback. Ben, I appreciate you're a great follow on Twitter. I love following you on Twitter at Ben Axelrod for a lot of reasons. But I got to tell you, more than anybody that I've seen, this Michigan cheating, sign stealing thing, you have been on it. And you even tweeted that maybe this is kind of taking your life over just a little bit. So I appreciate all the updates. I've gotten you've given me more information than anybody on this whole Michigan situation.
Yeah, a lot of Michigan fans have accused me of being obsessed about this entire situation, and they'd be absolutely right because I cannot get enough of this story. I just love the slow drip of information that comes out. It's like every week Michigan fans spend their week, talking themselves into the latest message board conspiracy theory, and then come Friday, it's totally debunked. So I might have stepped in it, though. I changed my name on X so that I could put the red X's in my name for the Ohio State-Michigan game.
What are you going to do?
And now I'm trying to change it back, and Twitter won't let me change it.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah, so Ohio State better win on Saturday. Otherwise, I might be stuck with these red X's in my name for the next 365 days.
It might be a long year there, Ben. But again, if they win, then you get to rub that in. We want to talk Browns. We're going to talk Cavs. But we get to start with the Buckeyes right here with everything. Ben, what has been your favorite thing out of all of this craziness? Because it's just I want to run through the list of like all the things. When the Venmo history came out, when the surveillance tape of the guy sitting in Connor Stallion's seats of videotaping the sidelines. But for me, Ben, it's when they filed that motion that had a direct ripped quote from a blog, towards the Big Ten. Of all of the weird stuff with Michigan, what has been like your favorite thing that Michigan has done so far?
Yeah, I think the TRO, the temporary restraining order, I think it really encapsulated like this entire scandal because, to your point, they had they ripped off the message board to make the base of their argument, but then they pulled their claim a day before they're supposed to have their hearing. Like they got wind of whatever info the Big Ten had on them, and they said, you know what? We're going to sit this one out. 3 games is good with us. Is that still good with you guys? So to me, like that, the entire saga of them filing a temporary restraining order, boasting about their lawyers, their fans boasting about Michigan's legal prowess and how they're going to take the Big Ten to court and they're going to actually get Ohio State in trouble. And then lo and behold, come the day of the hearing or the day before the hearing, they actually totally back out and just accept the 3-game suspension. To me, like that has encapsulated this entire mess for Michigan.
With everything that it is, Ben, from that big view out, because we see this all the time. You've been covering sports a long time. When these things happen, people think like, when it first starts, like this is the worst thing to ever happen to college football, and oh my God, and it's never that way, and it always kind of dissipates a little bit. But now that we're kind of fully into it, I don't really think this is over either. I know the NCAA still might be poking around and all that kind of stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, how big do you believe that this Michigan sign stealing scandal has been?
I think it's really big. And I think what makes it so big is that they kind of got caught in the act. Like this, we'll hear about boosters paying players, years after it happened or whatever, and then they have to go back and vacate a title or give back a Heisman or whatever. Like this happened this season. Like Connor Stalions was running this scheme earlier this year. And not only that, but Michigan is still a team that's in the mix for the college football playoff. At one point, just a few weeks ago, they were the favorites to win the national title. So that's why I thought this was such an interesting case for the Big Ten. Was Michigan wanted their due process, and I totally understand that. But on the flip side, like the Big Ten and to a lesser degree the NCAA have an opportunity to do something about it right now before Michigan can even, be in a position to play for a national title that might ultimately be vacated years from now. So I thought the Big Ten stepping in and issuing a punishment was the right thing. I was a little surprised they ultimately didn't ban Michigan from the Big Ten title game. And I think, we'll have to see what kind of evidence they have before we fully make a judgment on that decision. But I think that's what has made this so big is there's the cheating and there's the scheme and there's all that. But this is a national title contender that got caught in the act. The only thing I could really compare it to is the Patriots getting caught with Spygate in 2007.
You bring that up, Ed, because you're so right on. And it's something that I kind of at a point I wanted them to do something, right? There was just so much of this, all right, we're collecting information. And then I get it. It's a legal process. And they don't want to go to court and be sued for millions without having all the information. But it almost at a point seemed like the Big Ten and NCAA wanted this to get figured out on the field, where I'm sure every week they were hoping that Michigan was going to get upset, or they were probably rooting pretty hard for Ohio State to beat them this weekend, just so then they don't have to be the ones to do something. And I really still think that's the case, because again, yeah, the 3-game suspension for Harbaugh, that's fine. But I would believe, Ben, that the NCAA and the Big Ten, they would love nothing more for than Michigan to lose this weekend against Ohio State. So then that way, the situation kind of fixes itself.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I think, ideally for all involved except Michigan, Ohio State wins this weekend, and that kind of takes care of that. Actually, I think the College Football Playoff Committee has been kind of given a gift with how competitive this year's field is. I mean, if Michigan loses, I think they're out. I don't really see a path for Michigan getting in if they lose to Ohio State. I think Ohio State could lose and potentially get in just like they did last year. But I think for Michigan and their strength of schedule, I think they're probably on the outside looking in if they lose. But in past years, just like we saw last year, that wasn't necessarily the case. I mean, last year, if Michigan would have lost to Ohio State, Michigan conceivably still would have made the college football playoff just like Ohio State did. So I think because this year's field is so competitive, it's probably the most competitive field they've had since the college football playoff first came into existence in 2014. I think that's really to the NCAA and to the college football playoffs benefit. But if Michigan wins this weekend, I mean, they're probably in, and then you're going to have all these conversations kind of overshadowing everything moving forward.
Ben Axelrod joining us this morning. Follow him on Twitter at Ben Axelrod from Awful Announcing. Give me your 4 teams. Who do you think at the end it's going to be? I'm kind of on this Georgia. I really think Oregon is going to beat Washington in the Pac-12. Then they're going to have to make a decision there. I would lean the Ducks. I'm going to believe Ohio State will take care of Michigan, win the Big Ten they're in. The Jordan Travis injury throws a wrench into this. I don't really think Alabama deserves to make it. I know they would love to have the 2 SEC teams back in there, but how do you think it plays out when it's all said and done, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's kind of set up a little similar to 2014 when Ohio State made it and ultimately won, but there was a lot of questions heading into that conference championship weekend with how Ohio State would look with Cardale Jones at quarterback. And obviously Ohio State blew the doors off Wisconsin and wound up making the playoff and winning the whole thing. But I think Florida State's in a very similar situation because I do think they kind of had the inside track before that Jordan Travis injury. And I think they're still a very talented team, and it wouldn't be a surprise at all if they still were able to make it. But I think right now you have the Big Ten winner, or at least the winner of this weekend's game between Ohio State and Michigan. I think they could probably go on, and I doubt they would lose the Big Ten title game, but I think they could lose and still make it in. So I mean, Michigan's favored, so I guess I'll say Michigan. I'll go with the betting odds for the sake of consistency. I think Georgia's in. I think that's a no-brainer. I think the Pac-12 winner is obviously in, and if that's Oregon, that might leave the door open for Washington, although I doubt it. So I think I would lean Washington there. And then, yeah, I mean, it's going to be Florida State depending on how they look in the ACC title game. And if not, I'd probably have Alabama right there. So I know I didn't give you a hard and fast 4 right there, but I just think there's so much at play heading into the conference championship weekend.
Yeah, and that's I always say that about the committee is that they created this committee so they can do what they want, and they want the human input, and they want the humans making the decision. I know you grew up as I did in a BCS era, and God, I love the BCS, and there's an element that I wish it would come back to do the 12 next year, but that's another conversation for another day. And that human impact the human input would be, yeah, Florida State doesn't have their best player. He's out. Like, I made that statement to somebody, Ben. They gave me a look, and I said, even if Florida State won out, I don't know if I would put them in. And to your point, it's the same thing with Cardale Jones, and they ended up going to win the national championship. Sure, I understand that. But I'd take a hard look at Florida State. I think it's really tough. Let's turn our attention to the game this Saturday. I think it was Ohio State's offense that everybody wanted to see. We know Marvin Harrison, and I know his Heisman odds have kind of gone down a little bit. He's just had some slow games. But really, I'm happy, Ben, to see Travion Henderson back being that elite running back that we expect. He's going to be a first-round pick. It's all coming back to Kyle McCord a little bit. Defense, it's tough when you play the teams that Ohio State's played the last couple of weeks after Penn State. And then for Michigan, people want to dive into that Maryland game and the Terrapins giving them a run. I think they might have been looking ahead a little bit. Harbaugh's not there. Just your vibe for this game on Saturday and really maybe your key for Ohio State to get that win.
Yeah, it's just so hard. I agree with you about Michigan looking ahead. I think it's just so hard to blow out teams week in and week out. I think they were coming off a very emotional win against Penn State. And then looking ahead to Ohio State, obviously just like a perfect trap game on the road, all of that stuff. So I'm with you there. I think this is going to be a slugfest, though. I think what's really flown under the radar about this Ohio State team is its defense. I mean, its defense has been lights out, especially compared to how it's performed the last few years. They don't necessarily have that big star like a Chase Young or a Nick Bosa or a Joey Bosa, but just collectively, I think this defense has really been strong. And but I also think, this is going to be the most talented offense it's faced to this point. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that defense holds up. I think Ohio State's been run off the field in the last 2 years in this game. I know people, have kind of said Ohio State was in it heading into the second half or whatever. I just think you look at the final score, you look at the way those games went. I mean, Michigan outplayed Ohio State, out-toughed Ohio State, and really beat them off the field. I would be really surprised if that's what happened this week. I'm expecting a close game. I do think, having Marvin Harrison Jr., that's a big X factor for Ohio State because he is the best player on the field. And it seems like Ohio State's maybe been holding a little bit something back with him the last couple of weeks. So I still think the Heisman's in grasp for him. I really do. I don't think this thing has been run away with yet by Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels or anyone yet. I think it's right there for the taking, especially in such a high profile game. But man, I'm just expecting an old school Big Ten slugfest here on Saturday.
All right, I got to ask because it came up in time. So I do time up on my show where I go back in history this day. This day, 2015, Michigan State walks off Ohio State at the shoe on a last-second field goal to beat the defending national champion. Ben, that is my worst Ohio State loss. And everybody said, well, were you around in 07 for Florida? Was that one the one for you that you look back on? Because everybody said that next year's Ohio State team was even more stacked than the 1 year before. That Michigan State loss is forever the one that's going to bother me. Would you agree, or would you go to the Florida National Championship game?
Yeah, it's funny. It was like a day just like today. It was rainy and cold and wet. I was at the game. I was covering it for Bleacher Report at the time. And I covered that 2014 team and the 2015 team. The thing about the 2015 team was they definitely were more talented than the 2014 team, but they did not play better than the 2014 team. Like, that was a team full of players who had already won a national championship. And I think a lot of them were already looking forward to the NFL. The quarterback situation, they kept going back between JT Barrett and Cardale Jones. They never sorted that out until the end of the season. So that one, to me, that 15 team just always had a loss up its sleeve. And I wasn't necessarily surprised that was when it happened. To me, the biggest Ohio State loss, or the most devastating Ohio State loss, was actually the Michigan State in 1998. Because I thought that 98 team was just an all-time great Ohio State team. Joe Germain, David Boston, Antoine Winfield, Andy Katzenmoyer. That was, I thought, John Cooper's best team, and a team that really had a shot to win the national title. So to me, that's the one that stands out more. There's definitely some. You talk about the 2007 season when they lost to Illinois the week before the Michigan game. That was one that was just unfathomable. They still wound up making the national title game, but losing to LSU. So there's a handful that stick out. But to me, that 98 team, that was a team that deserved to be considered an all-time great Ohio State team, that just because of that one loss to Nick Saban and Plaxico Burress, that team's not going to get its due.
I feel like it's always like Michigan State and Purdue. We always seem to fumble a Purdue game somehow, somewhere, to come up and hurt the Buckeyes. He's Ben Axelrod. Follow him on Twitter at Ben Axelrod. Awful announcing. To the pro side of things, Ben, Dorian Thompson-Robinson got that win on Sunday. We forced the Steelers to fire Matt Canada, so the Steelers really are in a bad way this morning. We're talking Dorian's expectations this morning, because when we started the season, you believed a playoff team, you believed maybe a win. kind of got to recalibrate that a little bit. What are your expectations now for this Browns team as they sit only a half game back of the number 1 seed in the AFC, but they have DTR at quarterback? What are your expectations?
I think making the playoffs here would be a big win for this franchise. And because of the position they're in, I mean, they're 7-3. I think they should make the playoffs. I mean, conceivably, you have to get to 10 wins to lock up a playoff spot. And so you look at the Browns schedule, I think there's 3 wins on that schedule, whether it's DTR or PJ Walker or Joe Flacco at quarterback, just with the way this defense is playing. As far as DTR, you'd like to see him continue to take steps forward. I didn't think he played great on Sunday, but I thought he played within the game plan and obviously played better than he did in his debut against the Ravens. So I think it'll be interesting to see how much more they're willing to give him from a game planning standpoint, because I do think they schemed this up for a lot of quick throws and to kind of take the game out of his hands on Sunday, which obviously wound up working out for the Browns. But I don't know if that's a winning formula moving forward. So you'd just like to see him continue to make steps forward, continue to use his athleticism, continue to get the ball into David Njoku and Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore's hands. I think the way this defense is playing, I think the playoffs are fully on the table. If Deshaun Watson was at quarterback, I'd probably be talking about, the AFC title game or challenging the Chiefs and the Ravens, but Deshaun Watson's not at quarterback. So I do think it's fair to kind of recalibrate what this team's ceiling is moving forward.
There's a world, and there are some out there that say, just turn it over to Flacco now. Just give it to Flacco now. All you're going to ask Dorian Thompson-Robinson is maybe to be that game manager. Why not turn it over to a guy that has been a game manager and maybe even kind of won a Super Bowl being as a game manager when he was in Baltimore? I'm intrigued enough to let it ride out with DTR. And I said, Ben, even if it's a game or 2 of struggles, I still would like to leave him in there. Would you agree with me on that, or do you have a little shorter lease for DTR?
I mean, I agree with you. I would give DTR every chance possible to be this team's starting quarterback. He's the guy you drafted. He's the guy who's been playing within this offense. He's the guy who his playing style fits within this offense. I think if you move to Joe Flacco, you're obviously going to have to change some things around. But I also would have a short leash because this season, look, you don't know if this defense is sustainable. Injuries happen, turnover luck changes. I think defense is one thing year to year that doesn't necessarily carry over. Obviously, they have the talent on that side of the ball, but we've seen this team, with equal talent, not play well on defense. So I would have a short leash. I do think signing Joe Flacco and a guy with Joe Flacco's experience kind of tells you that they do have a short leash for DTR moving forward. But I also would want to give DTR every chance possible to succeed because he is a guy who you have invested in, at least as far as being a draft pick and putting in time with.
This year, finally, Myles Garrett gets that Defensive Player of the Year. I think it has to be. It's got to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's that or MVP. I mean, he's starting to get MVP buzz from Mike Florio, and I've seen some others mention it as well. And I mean, MVP is wide open right now. I mean, there's not one of the quarterbacks who has taken off with it. I'm guessing Jalen Hurts is the betting favorite after last night. Mm-hmm. But after that, I mean, it's wide open. You're talking about receivers like Tyreek Hill, a wide receiver has never won MVP before. You're talking about a rookie like CJ Stroud. A rookie hasn't won MVP since Jim Brown. I mean, so why not a defensive player? I think this thing is wide open for the taking. But yeah, as far as Defensive Player of the Year, I think it's Myles Garrett, and then probably a sizable gap now, Micah Parsons, and that's probably the field.
Yeah, I think and I didn't want to build this as Myles Garrett versus TJ Watt on Sunday, but it was clear that Myles won that. It's not like they were going up against each other, but as far as plays for that game on that spotlight, and I think as all eyes are going to continue to be on the Browns, Steelers are fading away a little bit. I know Dallas is pretty good. Some people like Max Crosby, but I the same thing with the MVP and why, I'm a Buckeye fan, so I want CJ Stroud to play well and all that kind of stuff. Ben, I think those awards need to go to players that are on really good teams. And I'm sorry to Max Crosby, the Raiders are not a good team. I'm sorry to TJ Watt. I don't think the Steelers are going to finish this thing out real strong. And I think that could be my knock on CJ Stroud for the MVP. He's not really playing on all that good of a team, where Myles Garrett, is playing on one of the best defenses in football, and he's the best player on one of those on the best defense. So I think DPOY is certainly in the running. And yeah, wouldn't that be something if he just I would just love to see if he got votes for the MVP. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's to your point. I mean, there have been years where I thought Myles Garrett was the best defensive player of in football from a talent standpoint. But the Browns defense, you couldn't justify it. The defense wasn't playing well enough to justify giving him the Defensive Player of the Year award. So as far as CJ Stroud, I think it'll be interesting because I think if the Texans do make the playoffs, considering what their expectations were before the season, I think then you're making a really strong case for it. But yeah, I mean, Myles Garrett, I can point to 3 or 4 Browns games this year. The Browns do not win if Myles Garrett is not on the field, thinking especially about that Colts game and even on Sunday against the Steelers. So, I think that Myles Garrett, in terms of which player is most valuable to his team, it's right there in the name. I think Myles Garrett's right there right now.
Wrap up with some Cavs. I know you and the family were at the game a little while ago. I mean, up and down a little bit to start the season. We've had to battle some injuries with Donovan. People are jumping on this. Evan Mobley hasn't ascended like people expect. And I really felt like, Ben, even though it's only November, that the Cavs were entering a little bit of a crucial stretch. I thought JB was catching a little bit of heat. They've won a couple. I thought that win over the Nuggets was fantastic. They got a big game tonight against Philly. Just overall, in general, any of those pieces there, where are you at with the Cavs?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting heading into this season, like what kind of shape this season would take. Would this be a team that, again, was, really dynamic in the regular season, but you still had questions about them heading into the playoffs? Or was this a team that, kind of been there, done that in the regular season, was going to, fight its way through this year, hopefully make it to the playoffs. And then that's where you'd really see the improvement. And right now it's looking a little bit like the latter, although, like we saw against the Nuggets, I mean, the pieces are there. The talent is there. This is one of the most talented teams in the Eastern Conference. They don't have the experience, and I don't think they necessarily have the depth, although they are deeper than they were a year ago. But I do think, with Donovan Mitchell, who's an all-NBA player, and Evan Mobley, who's going to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year again, I think that floor is always going to be there for this team. I think it's going to be maybe a little more of a slog than it was last season, but I do think the talent's there. I think, this is a team just based on its talent alone that could rip off, 8 or 9 wins in a row at any given time. So you'd like to see, them build on that win against the Nuggets, because you don't want to see that noise about Donovan Mitchell continue to gain steam, the speculation about JB Bickerstaff's job status, all of that stuff. You'd like to see them kind of put that to rest, but at the end of the day, I think this is a talented team. I think they will make the playoffs. And I think that, from there, that's really where I'm going to judge this team, is how do they build on the playoffs and what they did last year, because obviously that was a really disappointing finish to the season.
I feel like, Ben, some people, I'm not saying you, but some people, they want that sour taste of the Knicks series out of their mouth, and they expected it the first 2 weeks of the season. And I'm sorry to tell you, you're not going to get that until we get back to the playoffs and win a series. So people really just were on edge to start the season. You're so right on about how it ended last year, and you really can't do anything about that for a couple of more months. I'm sorry, the in-season tournament doesn't do it for me. That doesn't erase anything about, I get why the NBA, they want to make money. Some of these courts, I like the Cavs court. Some of those other courts are a little out there for me. I like the court. I guess it really doesn't change a whole lot. I just, I don't know, Ben, what do you think of that in-season tournament? It doesn't really hit for me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I went into with an open mind. I started following European soccer in the last year, and that's like what this is all based on. But I just think the NBA has done such a poor job marketing it. It started too early. They haven't done nearly a good enough job explaining it to the casual fans. I was at the game Friday. It was a tournament game. You wouldn't have known it was any different than any other regular season game. The courts are, some of the courts are legitimately difficult to watch.
It's distracting, is it not? I'm watching some of these games, the highlights, I'm like, I can't even see where the ball is at.
Right. I mean, it's one. Trust me, I'm all for loud uniforms and unique court designs and all that, but like this is hard to watch some of these like bright blue courts.
Yeah.
So I think there's something there, but I just don't think the NBA has really figured it out yet, like what the stakes are and what this means to the fans.
Yeah, they'll still cash a bunch of checks, I'm sure, on it. Ben,
Right.
really appreciate the stash is on point. I didn't do it this year. I'm kind of kicking myself. We had family pictures, you know how that goes. So I held.
Yeah.
It is on point though. It's looking.
I appreciate it.
It's looking prime. Ben, I always appreciate it. Great follow on Twitter at Ben Axelrod. It looks weird with the X's, but hopefully that'll remedy itself. We got to call Elon. We'll get that figured out for you. Ben, really appreciate it. We'll definitely have you on in the future. All right, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt.
Appreciate it, bro. There he is, Ben Axelrod. He's legitimately one of my favorite follows on Twitter. Not just because of like all the Michigan stuff, but like Ben at Awful Announcing now, they do a great job. Just a lot of information. If you're a sports fan, he's a great follow at Ben Axelrod. It was funny because I didn't bring it up, but his wife and my wife actually work together. And she texted me this morning. She goes, "You haven't had Ben on yet?" And I go, "No, I don't know. It just didn't work out." So this is the perfect week because I wanted him to go all in on that Michigan stuff because no one has been covering this quite like Ben. So I appreciate his time right there at Ben Axelrod on Twitter. All right, let's catch our break. When we come back, we're going to get into the morning update. Matt Canada out in Pittsburgh. Big Cavs game tonight. Some other news around the world of sports. So we'll get to all that coming up. We got it for you on Big Play. Man, yesterday, massive day. You had Reflug. You had Blake and Greg Williams to come get some. You had Hanford Dixon. You had, of course, Sunday night, Bobby Carpenter, Anthony Schlegel. You're telling me for Ohio State week that you're not all geared up with Schlegs and B-Carp? Check it out Sunday nights on Big Play. It airs on Bally's throughout the week. And then, dude, Ryan, how about a Sunday night edition after a victory over Michigan? That'd be a show to be a part of right there. So we appreciate everything with all the support that we've been getting here at Big Play. And we even have some bigger things coming. We really do. BigPlay.com is our website. All of our merch is there. But the easiest thing, follow us on Twitter at Big Play. You'll see all the show handles. We all have our own YouTube channels. We're all on Instagram. Follow it everywhere you need it. Big Play on Twitter. When you need it, how you need it, where you need it. It's everything with our friends here at Big Play. We got the morning update. We'll dive into everything next right here on Big Play. cut out. And I was like, what happened? I was like, my headphones. Stand by. And we're back. Welcome back. Ooh, new intro. That's right. I forgot about that. For the morning update, let's get to it. All the stories you got to know across the sports world. Take it away, young Ryan.
Alrighty, well, Matt, the Cavs are back in action tonight in Philadelphia against the 76ers. Cavs are 7-6. Well, Philadelphia is off to a hot 10-3 start, Matt.
Who saw that coming?
The Cavs have lost 7 of their last 10 matchups against the 76ers, and Philadelphia comes into this game as a pretty decent 7.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, the tough thing for the Cavs is Joel Embiid, right? And I feel like Embiid, the Cavs, I mean, you drafted Evan Mobley because he's Evan Mobley. Like, I'm not saying you drafted him for, it's not like the NFL. The Browns drafted guys to stop Lamar Jackson, okay? You probably are going to have to deal with Joel Embiid for a while. And I'm not saying that they purposely drafted Evan Mobley, but you would have 2 guys that you would think would be able to create a lot of problems for Joel Embiid. I mean, I think the crazy thing for the 76ers, it's not so much the James Harden thing, because they're clearly a better team without him. This isn't meant to be a shot. At this point of his career, does James Harden really make your team that much better? Like, I know he's starting to put it together for the Clippers a little bit, but I really thought there was that world that, like the 76ers are going to get better. And then here they are. They have the combo of an elite guy in Joel Embiid and then a point guard in Tyrese Maxey to supplement that. I think I've seen that before. I think I saw that a time or two here in Cleveland. And I know LeBron and Embiid are different guys, and Embiid is in no way the level on LeBron. But that is the dream. And the Cavs are trying to build that dream again. Here's a big guy that can do a lot of things. You get him a guard to help out. And that's exactly what they've done. Harris, Oubre, I mean, they have good players. They do. Off to the start that they have had, I mean, it's early. I think there is a little sense of the 76ers of trying to, take it to James Harden and stick it to him. But they've beaten some good teams. They have. Because, the instant thing would be to sit here and go, all right, who have they beaten? They beat Boston in this streak. They've already taken out Phoenix. They've already beat Toronto twice. But I think I don't want to say they're susceptible. I think 7 is right. Now, the question is Donovan Mitchell going to play tonight? That's my biggest question, because we have our boost, folks. Go to Tipico, use the code BIGPLAY100. You download 25, you get $100 in bonus bets. Donovan Mitchell's already out. So he's out for this game. I'm sorry, he's out. Okay. The biggest one is going to be Karis LeVert. He is questionable. So I would say a 7-point spread for the Cavs against the 76ers without Donovan Mitchell is fair. Our boost tonight, Max Strus over 2.5 threes. Evan Mobley over combined points and rebounds of 25.5, and the Cavs plus 7.5. We talked about it with Ben Axelrod. If you missed it, go back and watch it. Great stuff with Ben from Awful Announcing. And he mentioned that momentum after that big win over Denver. That is my best thing for tonight, is ride a little bit of that momentum. Now, the crappy thing is they're on the road. If they were at home, I'd feel a lot better, and I think the line would be less, but I'll take the Cavs on 7.5 tonight. It's going to be a little gritty win. I guess the bigger question with the Cavs, which I want to talk wine and gold to wrap the show up a little bit later, have they done enough to ease any concerns that you have? Because I would say, Ryan, even for the most diehard Cavs fans, you had a concern at some point of this season. You didn't get off to the best start that you could have asked for. So they've done enough to maybe ease up on JB a little bit, to ease up on some of the questioning with Evan Mobley. We'll discuss that a little bit later in the show. But nonetheless, dude, I will never take this for granted. You have meaningful regular season games. I'm not talking about the in-season tournament. I don't care about that. You have a really good basketball team in the 76ers, and I want to see what the Cavs have for them tonight. I will never wish away meaningful regular season games because I love it. Not everyone is that, but tonight is a big game, and I'm jazzed. We're on national TV tonight again, right? I believe we are. TNT, 7:30, baby. Back on TNT.
Alrighty, well, Matt, it is officially that week that the Buckeyes play that team up north. And for the first time in 5 years, Matt, the Buckeyes come into this match as underdogs. Tipico has them at +3.5.
Oh, it's moved. I would imagine money coming in on the Buckeyes. It's that way because it's at Michigan, because I think you give them the standard 3. But I think these teams are equal in a lot of areas. Defensively, Ohio State's playing better. I would still lean Ohio State. I think the best player on the field wears number 18 for the Scarlet and Gray. That's Marvin Harrison. I like Blake Corum. I think Travion Henderson is just as good. Offensive line, maybe a little more Michigan. Quarterback, probably Michigan. And I think, listen, you can have a really crappy defense in the NCAA. I understand that. But a lot of these teams, they boast these gaudy stats on defense because they just play really bad offenses. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I expect Ohio State to limit teams to 10 points when they're playing the likes that they have. Sorry, I just is what it is. And the same goes for Michigan. Coaching advantage, sure. But this just torpedo into my brain, Ryan. That Ryan Day might feel like he's coaching for his job come Saturday. There's a heavy group of Ryan Day detractors out there. And what's their knock, man? He doesn't beat Michigan. He has not beaten Michigan. And, I'm as big of an Ohio State fan, born and raised Ohio State fan, but I will fully admit I think people put too much on it, okay? Yeah, you don't want to go to John Cooper years where you don't beat him at all. And yeah, beating the hell out of him for a decade was fun. I always look at it more of like, yeah, I hate Michigan, well documented on this show, and I want Ohio State to beat them, but for the grander scheme, I want to beat them so I can be a Big Ten champion so I can go win a national championship. So that's where this is just a cog in the wheel for me of my happiness for Ohio State. In a world of would I rather beat Michigan or win a national championship, I will always vote to win a national championship. I always will. Now, the nice thing is usually to get one, you have to have the other. Usually in the order of beating Michigan first and then go to the national championship. So, and I know the 12-team playoff will change all of that. I will always rather win a national championship. So this is what I dream of. Undefeated, probably 2-3 in the rankings. Probably I'd like it to be 1-2, but you'll never get another game like you did back then. You're going to have a 2-3 matchup, undefeated, probably for the right to go to the national championship. Or at least the playoffs, I should say. That's it. That's why it's all laid out. But that pressure on Ryan Day, the pressure is not about going to win a national championship. It's about beating Michigan. And here's the craziest part of this, Ryan, that I think there'd be less pressure on Ryan Day if he beat Michigan and then lost in the Big Ten championship as opposed to losing to Michigan and going to win a national championship. That is how sometimes skewed the thought process of some Ohio State fans are, because it's all about beating Michigan. So Sunday, I would love to sit there and we do our tale of the tape, right? And if we did the tale of the tape between Ohio State and Michigan, when we got to head coach, well, of course I would say Ryan Day. He's coached more games. Sharon Moore, I mean, he's an interim guy, and they had, nice couple of wins. Of course it'd be Ryan Day. But the pressure is insurmountable on him right now because it is Michigan. Right or wrong? I don't know. I personally think it's wrong. I think Ryan Day's a good coach. I'll ride with him. I want him to be the head coach of the Buckeyes. But still, dude, you got to beat Michigan. That's what they're asking for. It's a lot of pressure on Ryan Day on Sunday. Or Saturday.
Alrighty, well,
a lot of pressure Sunday.
Head coach Kevin Stefanski announced Monday that veteran safety Rodney McLeod will be out for the remainder of the season with a bicep injury that's going to require surgery, Matt. And that comes after a pretty already banged up safety room with Juan Thornhill dealing with some injuries. So we're going to have to lean heavily on Grant Delpit, who's been having a great year. And
well, they got to get Juan Thornhill back, too. Yeah, they got to get Juan Thornhill back. He's got the calf. We'll see. if he can play this week. And then you're going to look at the Ohio State guy, Ronnie Hickman, because Ronnie was in there making some plays. I'm gutted for Rodney McLeod because I don't want to project anything. But, dude, that's year 13 for Rodney McLeod. I mean, I hope that I mean, he seems like a guy, and I hope he's this way, of the Anthony Walker. Just keep on coming back, man. And, of course, Anthony Walker, unfortunately, now on the injury report now, too. So, he's only 33. As a 34-year-old, I would say that's not that old. I'd love him to come back to this team. I think he's meant a lot to this defense. I know Jim Schwartz will be here, and I know he fits a lot of what Jim Schwartz wants to do. I'd love to see Rodney McLeod back, especially if you don't bring back Grant Delpit, which is a world that we might be living in. I'll save that take for the end of the year, but I'd franchise tag Grant Delpit if I had to. I would.
Alrighty, well, a holiday gift came a little bit early for Pittsburgh fans this morning.
They are rejoicing.
As offensive coordinator Matt Canada has been fired after an outcry of fans to get him canned for the last month or two.
Dude, did you see this from Schefter this morning? Sorry, I'm looking up Batman news. Big Batman news this morning. We have new stills of the Penguin spinoff, and apparently there's some news about the second Batman. Exciting stuff. Sorry. Schefter with a tweet this morning that the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most historic teams ever, when they fired him today, it is the first time that they have made an in-season coaching change since 1941. They have not fired even like a linebacker's coach, let alone a coordinator, since 1941, when the team's half-owner, Bert Bell, fired himself. Imagine that, firing yourself. 1941. We are closer to 100 years than not that the Pittsburgh Steelers have fired a coach in season. It got that bad. I mean, I know that Steelers fans are all up in it now with Kenny Pickett and them realizing that he's not the guy. Did you see the stuff this morning with the Didi Kinkabala and Quincy Avery? So Aditi Kinkabala works for CBS, NFL Network, formerly on the sidelines, and a lot of people respect Aditi. And I do too. She's the best. So Aditi this morning sent out some tweets kind of defending Kenny Pickett, right? Because there were tweets. Andrew Filipponi, he hosts in Pittsburgh, and he was all in on Kenny Pickett, and now he's out. And Aditi sent a tweet that said Tua was allegedly a bust. I thought that, until he got Mike McDaniel. Brock Purdy was questionable until he got Kyle Shanahan. CJ Stroud, they said he couldn't read a defense until Bobby Slowick helped him out. And the whole point was, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You might have something with Kenny Pickett, but if he's running a horrible offense and nobody's helping him out, I think Aditi's point is right on, saying maybe we just need to see Kenny Pickett with the new OC before you make any decisions. Now, Quincy Avery got up in this because he sent a tweet basically going at Aditi. And I want to find it. And she had like a lot of, she's had to kind of defend herself in a lot of stuff. And Quincy Avery said, "I'll never know if she's a reporter or a mouthpiece. She consistently says the dumbest stuff." Okay, that's a personal shot. And then Aditi comes back and just brings her point up again. Do you believe that sometimes there's terrible narratives made about people and alleged judgments made about them, and those people are put in a position to succeed and it's shown as false? That's all her point. And then Quincy comes firing back. You can say whatever you want about whoever you want, all that kind of stuff. He said, "My point is you say a lot of silly stuff. I'm never sure it's from an actual reporting or just some of the stuff you say that a team told you." That's attacking credibility of somebody, Aditi, who everybody loves and I think is a very good journalist. Quincy Avery is Deshaun Watson's personal quarterback coach. And there are people drawing comparisons about a little bit of disrespect right there. And I don't know if I wanted to bring that up because that's unfair maybe for me to make that leap, but that was a fallout this morning kind of all the Canada stuff. So anyway, Kenny Pickett, I guess, to Adidi's point, yeah, let's see what he's got. I'll tell you this. No matter how good a quarterback is, they cannot overcome bad play calling. That's just impossible. That's impossible. And maybe that was truly it. The thing is, and probably why the Steelers, make no mistake, we know what the Steelers are doing. You made this move now to give Kenny Pickett now a runway to say, you need to show us something here in these last couple of games, or yeah, we're going to go find a quarterback this offseason. So they make this move to remove a variable, because when they sat down at the end of the season to evaluate Kenny Pickett, there was no way for them to understand what he was doing without Matt Canada. Now they will have a sample size, and I would say a pretty ample sample size, of Kenny Pickett without Matt Canada. He goes out there and continues to lay an egg, he's going to be out of a job. He goes out there and shows improvement, okay, then the Steelers going to have to make a decision. That's what happened there. I know Steelers fans, and that's also, that's also them trying to save their playoff hopes. Because there's even at 6-4, you feel like they're circling the drain, do you not? And they need to shake something up, because if that offense keeps going the way it's going, they weren't going to make it. So I got no sympathy for the Steelers. Sorry. So Browns defense will do to you, man.
Alrighty, well, we'll end the morning update with this last bit of news. The Chiefs fell to the Eagles. Eagles improved to an NFL best 9-1. Chiefs fall to 7-3 as Jason Kelce gets the win in the rematch of the Kelce Bowl. But for the Browns, that means they are now only half a game back for the number 1 seed in the AFC, as the number 1 seed gets moved to the Baltimore Ravens.
Just keep winning, man. I said I'm a little more focused on the wild card, but just keep winning, and everything will take care of itself. Baltimore's schedule is brutal. Absolutely brutal on the way out. Now, I believe KC will be just fine. I kind of believe that Miami will be just fine. Hey, man, set those goals high. What do they say? Shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you land among the stars. Horrible cliches. I'm sorry. But anyway, for the Chiefs on the way out, oh my God, how about this? Raiders, Packers, Bills, Patriots, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers. Chiefs will be just fine. They'll be okay. Trust me. You want to know Miami's schedule on the way out real quick? Miami. Oh, God, they're even worse. Jets, Commanders, Commies. Titans, Jets. That's their next 4 games. They will be winning 4 straight. Then they have the Cowboys and the Ravens, and then they end the season with the Bills. Pretty favorable. Hey, man, just win. Brown's schedule's semi-favorable, too. So you just kind of win, and everything will take care of itself. Let's update our 2 for Tuesdays before we get into coaching hot seats. Quite a few of those. So we'll get to, first off, power rankings, and then some updated coaching hot seats. But first off, over under 3.5 wins for DTR's the Browns starting quarterback. He's already got one. This one, 69-31. Nice. People say the over for DTR, and that would be a playoff run. And then stuffing. Overrated, underrated. I'm happy to say that this is 85-15 underrated, because that's the answer. Ryan, I never got your vote. Overrated, underrated there on stuffing.
I'm gonna go with underrated, because it's I think it's my favorite Thanksgiving food. It's kind of a newer one. I think it's some hate, but that's tough because I don't necessarily know if it's super hyped up, so I don't know if I can call it underrated. But
just on that, it's either overrated or underrated. Got to pick one. So I'm with you.
Then I'll pick underrated.
You have to go underrated.
I'll pick underrated.
I'm happy to say that we are not on the coaching hot seat for Kevin Stefanski anymore, and frankly, he shouldn't be. But let's go to ESPN. They run through their power rankings and then update who their preseason hot seat was and their current temperature. So number 1 in the power rankings, Philadelphia is 1. San Fran jumps from 3 to 2. Kansas City drops down from 2 to 3. Lions are 4. Baltimore is 5. Dallas up a spot to 6. Miami drops a spot to 7. And your Cleveland Browns, stagnant. Right there at number 8. The preseason hot seat was head coach Kevin Stefanski. the temperature of that hot seat, the same temperature that it is outside right now, Ryan, freezing cold. Jake Trotter writes, Stefanski is a lot closer to being the coach of the year than he is to be fired. Dealing with the loss of all-pro Nick Chubb, $230 million quarterback in Deshaun Watson, the Browns are in the thick of the AFC playoff picture. They also have 4 wins that were decided in the final 2 minutes of regulation, which according to ESPN Stats and Info is a franchise record. We used to talk about those wins all the time, Ryan, about close games, late game wins, and you just never got them. And I really think those late game wins come back to the talent level on your team. And if you have a talent level, you're going to get those wins. Browns have a franchise best 4 wins decided in the final 2 minutes of regulation. The Browns have been stellar on defense and special teams with Stefanski calling plays. They've been good enough offensively. Stefanski could be on the verge of a contract extension. There we are. That's why I want to bring it up. Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are in the final year of their deal next year. I'm going to call it now. They'll get signed to an extension this offseason. I don't think it'll be that 5-year extension that they got. I think a 3-year extension is warranted. A little boost in the pay raise. All for that. And you give them a deal that they deserve. 3-year extension on out. I am so happy that that is the world that we live in. Because no coach is perfect. And again, I've done this 1,000 times. I'll do it again. On any player and any coach, there's one side that'll always hate, and there's one side that'll always defend. And then there's us here in the middle. For Kevin Stefanski, he is one of the keys to success for the Browns. As they lay out their franchise, as they set things up of what you want to be, not even so much this year, but if you have goals of going to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, you don't fire coaches. You don't fire good coaches. Kevin Stefanski is a good coach. And there's a world that he takes you to a Super Bowl. Now, I know there's a world that he ends up losing his job. In coaching, you get hired to get fired, and I understand that. And I hope it's a little like Marty Schottenheimer with the Chargers. Remember when Marty Schottenheimer was taking the Chargers to the playoffs every year, and then they fired him because they never won in the playoffs? I'd love to have that problem. I would love to have that problem. I hope Kevin Stefanski takes the Browns where we need to go. But, Ryan, as this is built up, I really had a fear at one point of the Browns moving on from Stefanski. Not so, I mean, a big part of it is Stefanski. I think he's very good at what he does. But my other fear was that is a step towards dysfunction. Because even if you bring in a new guy, there's a chance that guy doesn't work out, and there's a chance that there's a big upheaval and a turnover. Now, granted, there's the other side, the positive, where they take you to new places and new heights. But I don't want to rock the boat. I do believe that the Browns are on a very good path right now, and I don't want to deviate from that. You can't assume for injuries, sure, but I'm talking about the 3-year and maybe 5-year health of the franchise. Sometimes that's all you got to do is just get to the next 3 years, right, or next 5 years. Sometimes a motto for life. But on the 3 or 5 year health of the team, I think it's very good. So I don't want to rock that. I don't want to upset that. And I think he's done enough, certainly this season, to warrant a contract extension, and I hope he gets it. I head over to another story this morning on ESPN as they ran through. Did I close that tab? I think I did. It's from Bill Barnwell. Give me 2 seconds to pull it back up. The 8 coaches on the hot seat. The 8 coaches that are on the hottest of seats from Bill Barnwell.
A lot of hot seats.
That's a lot of hot seats. Here it is. Oh, I'm sorry. 7. Okay. 7.
Okay.
From Bill Barnwell this morning. 5 coaches who had a rough Sunday. We will play the game here. You call your shot. Are they going to make it? Why are they asking me to log in all of a sudden? Damn it. I have ESPN Plus. Let me log in, please.
They want you to pay for another subscription.
It better not. I know they raised their prices. They did. Oh, my God. Why can I not pull this up? Yeah, what's my password? Log it in. Logging in. We're in, Brian. Yay! I will not be sharing my password with anybody. Thank you very much. Too many people got it already, to be honest with you. All right, now I got to scroll back down and find the article. Stand by. Coaching Carousel. Bill Barnwell this morning on ESPN. Thank you for staying with us there on our momentary slowdown here on the show. Now the internet's going out. Great. All right, we're going to run through this, and we will say, do we think this guy's going to be the head coach of their team at the do you want to do end of the season, or you want to just do next season? Like week one of next season. Yeah. Okay, week one of next season. Coaches who had a rough Sunday. Number one, Ron Rivera, Washington Commanders. They got smoked by the Giants. The Giants have now beaten the Commanders twice this season, which is just almost inexcusable. Yeah, Ron Rivera's out. Yeah. And I think it's mostly, I could see him just like going to the, I'm just going to retire. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's had a great career. I don't quite know if he's a Hall of Famer, to be honest with you. I think he's in the conversation, which is a great conversation to be a part of. But I think for Ron Rivera, there's got to be a point where you're just sick of that kind of stuff. Like, a coach early in their career, they live, like, that's the job you got to take. There's dysfunction. You got to figure this out. You don't have a quarterback. Those are the jobs that you got to take. For a veteran guy that's seen and pretty much done it all, what more does he have left? Like, what does he really need to prove? And why just continue to put up with all the headache? That'd be my biggest thing. Like, why continue to put up with all this headache? I think he's just going to be like, you know what? Unless, and I don't know if Josh Harris would really want this, he throws an exorbitant amount of money at him, which I don't see. I think Ron Rivera's out.
Yeah, two-time Coach of the Year winner. His best days are definitely behind him. And then you look at, like you said, new ownership. So they're going to come in. This will be the first full off season, that they're really running things. So I expect them to kind of go get who they deem as their guy. You got a young quarterback in Sam Howell. Just try to fix things around there. I would be very surprised if Ron Rivera sticks around.
Next up, Matt Eberflus, Chicago Bears. They fall to the Lions. How about this for Eberflus? He came into Sunday's game in games against division leaders. So not just the NFC North, but anytime the Chicago Bears have played a division leader under Matt Eberflus, they are 6-21. 6-21. His cop-out is, I lost Justin Fields. I had to start Tyson Bagent. What did you want me to do? But the thing is, as a defensive-minded guy, I don't know if he's allowed to glom on to the success of Justin Fields. And I think they should be all in on Justin Fields. I believe that Ryan Poles, their general manager, has a lot of pull. I think you get that trade done with Carolina, which seems to be a well-done trade on their part. This is the toughest thing. They are in the perfect opportunity to get rid of Matt Eberflus because they will be one of the best coaching opportunities. And I say that and you're like, are you right? What? Okay. The Bears have a quarterback. In my opinion, a good quarterback. They have some offensive playmakers. I like DJ Moore. Cole Kmet is certainly ascending. And there's a few players on that defense. But you're staring down the barrel of 2 top 4 picks in the draft next year. You'll probably move the first overall one and get a boatload of picks. That's a situation I think a new coach would want to come into. So I would think of all these positions that we will open potentially, the Bears will be pretty advantageous to a lot of potential hires. So I think it's ripe for Matt Eberflus to be gone. You knew Brandon Staley would be on this list. I mean, their biggest thing is they got this gaudy stat. They've lost 7 games by their last 7 games in games of 3 points or less. They've lost. I'm shocked they brought him back after that playoff debacle last year. And the same thing. How much can he sit here and say that he's actually, as a defensive guy, like is all on him? People are calling for him to stop calling defensive plays. I think Brandon Staley's out.
Yeah, I mean, after that playoff collapse at Jacksonville, we were already concerned about running it back with Staley. And then now, the offseason, they go get Kellen Mond to really elevate Justin Herbert to that ascending MVP level like they expected him to play when they drafted him. And then you go look at his numbers. He's not playing bad at all, really. They're just one of those teams that have failed to win close games, and their defense hasn't stood the task of really any team this season. So they're kind of in a nice position where, okay, I'm assuming if they do get rid of Staley before this season, you'll elevate Kellen Kellen Mond, I assume, to be the interim head coach, and then potentially see how they finish the year with him maybe calling plays, and then see if they're going to take Mond to run the ship next year with Justin Herbert, who they need to figure something out
Kellen
soon.
Moore. You keep saying Mond. Kellen Mond's the former quarterback for the Browns. Kellen Moore.
I
knew you were talking
Thank
about.
you, Matt.
You're very welcome. This is the first one that I disagree from Bill Barnwell. So again, these are coaches on the hot seat. We think Eberflus is gone. We think Rivera is gone. We think Brandon Staley is gone. Frank Reich in Carolina. And Bill writes, it's weird that veteran coaches, they typically don't get fired in their first year with the new organization. Owners want to surround their rookie quarterback. And the thing with Reich is, do you see development with Bryce Young? Do you see this guy improving? Now, like, I go back to a press conference that Frank Reich had when they drafted Bryce Young. And I can't remember exactly when it was. But he said that there was a unanimous voice in that room that they were going to take Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. And I look and I watch and I stare at Frank Reich's face, and I think he's lying. That's unfair of me to say. This is just my opinion. You could see the pain on his face trying to swallow we were really in on Bryce Young. And I know that story is far from written, and there was a world that I was cussing out Miami saying, you idiots, you passed up on Justin Herbert to take Tua, and look where we're at today. Sure, I would not have taken Bryce Young. But make no mistake, Frank Reich's number one job this season was to make Bryce Young improve and make him look semi like a franchise quarterback. And I just don't know if they're there. He's got the track record, right? He's worked with quarterbacks before. He himself a former quarterback. So that's one that I would believe that cooler heads will prevail, and they'll keep Frank Reich around. Because you want to know the last veteran coach to get fired in their first year? Urban Meyer. Do you think it's nearly as bad as what was happening down in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer? No. I'd keep Frank Reich around, but that's just me.
Yeah, and I think they're going to do the same. Like, when you have a rookie quarterback drafted number 1 overall, the last thing you want to do is just throw all this dysfunction and switching parties and coaches around like we did with Baker, and we saw how that worked out. I like when you said cooler heads will prevail. I think the sexy thing to do would to go be find that new head coach, because you have that like 1-9 abysmal record. But at the end of the day, you are still a young team with a quarterback who is in his first season and has struggled. But we've seen that before, and we've seen plenty of quarterbacks turn it around.
I'm going to have you guess the next coach by reading the first statement that Bill Barnwell writes. And it said, a year ago, writing about the idea of this team firing their coach would have gotten me fired. Who do you think that coach is now? Next up on Bill Barnwell's list of the hot seats in the NFL, potential firings, 7 coaches. Yeah. He writes, a year ago, writing this idea would have gotten me fired.
Bill?
No.
Okay.
Good guess. Great guess,
So if it's not Bill, then I was going to guess Robert Saleh.
No.
No, not Robert Saleh. Ooh. Kevin O'Connell?
No.
Oh.
AFC team.
Uh-huh. Okay. Not Raiders, not Chargers, not Broncos, not Chiefs, not AFC South, Texans. No. Oh, Mike Vrabel?
Mike Vrabel is correct. Okay. He writes, a year ago, writing the idea of the Titans firing Vrabel would have gotten me fired. They were perennial playoff contenders in the AFC, coming off a season which they finished as the top seed in the conference and were comfortable favorites to retain the AFC South. In Week 11 last season, they were manhandling the Packers, taking their record to 7-3. Vrabel seemed like a Coach of the Year candidate. What has happened since has been shocking. They lose Ryan Tannehill, didn't win a single game the rest of the year in 2022, eventually losing the division to the Jags. And since that win 1 year ago, Vrabel's teams have gone just 3-14 in that stretch, including a 2-7 record in close games that they seem to always pull out last year for victories. Vrabel, he'll be on the top of that. I mean, my question with Vrabel, does he want to go back to college or does he want to stay in the pros?
I don't know.
Because Ohio State's always going to get brought up with him. You know how that rolls? You know what I mean? Like that's
if Ryan Day gets canned,
that goes back to Saturday's game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That'd be interesting.
On the outside of watching college and pro football, I don't know anybody in their right mind that wants to coach college football. Seriously. And it's not anything about NIL or the transfer portal. It's you all week have to prepare for a game. Then on Friday nights, fly to a high school game to tell some big prospect that you want them to come to your school. You get to the off season just to go on more recruiting trips and more camp visits and all that. You get a week break and you're back in the swing of things for spring ball. I seriously, I don't know any, like, the grind in college is so insane. And the pros, yeah, there's more, there's equal pressure. There's just as many issues, but I don't know. Like, I would just, if you told me, if I was Mike Vrabel, and the same thing with Jim Harbaugh, pros are where it's at. Now, the thing is, the same thing with Vrabel going back to Ohio State is what Jim Harbaugh has at Michigan. He's got miles of a leash there, and that probably tells you because they're sticking through him with all these suspensions and all this bull crap. But even then, what comes out? Man, he's thinking about going back to the NFL. He's thinking about going back there. I don't know, man. If I'm Vrabel, I stay in the pro game. And I've called it here, Mike Vrabel to the Chargers. Mike Vrabel to the Chargers. I think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. Are they trading out a defensive coach for another one? Sure. But I think the Chargers could really do something under a guy like Mike Vrabel. You mentioned, okay, so that's the list from Bill Barnwell. He mentioned coordinators, by the way, and guess who number one was? Matt Canada, fired. There you go. And then he also mentioned, Nathaniel Hackett with the Jets. How are you going to fire him? What did you expect to happen? Whatever. So again, of his list of coaching candidates on the hot seat, Eberflus, Reich, Rivera, Staley, and Vrabel. Who's the one name that's not on that list that should be? Is it Bill?
I would say it's Bill. And I wonder if he didn't.
I got another one after Bill. Let's talk Bill, but I got another one.
Yeah, I wonder if he didn't want to include him because it's a thing where he doesn't know if the Patriots are willing to do that because of his track record with the team. But
how are you going to fire Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Their best case scenario outside of them winning, because I know Bill, all he wants to do is pass Don Shula. That's his number one goal. The best thing for the Patriots would be is if some team gave them a lifeline to say, we'll hire Bill. We'll take Bill. Because then you could easily escape that. Say, go to Washington or go to Tennessee or go wherever and go have your chance to go chase the record down. Yeah, it'll sting that you're not going to pass that record with us, but we wish you the best of luck and you move on forward. That would be the best case scenario. If they come straight out and fire him, we'll see. I mean, the thing is Bill Belichick, who's pretty much built his whole career on the team and doing what's best for the team, does that then apply to himself when he could say, yeah, man, I'm not the best for this team anymore and make the move himself and just like resign or retire? I really think he wants to get that record. I truly think he wants to really get after that record. So what are they going to do with him? I don't know. Here's the coach that's not on that list that I think should be too, Arthur Smith. I think he's staring down the barrel. Now, granted, he's had to deal with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, and they're going back to Desmond Ridder now and all that other bull crap. I think he deserves. I think there's a little fire under his butt, dude. There. Anybody else? Dable? No. Saleh?
Dable's a weird one.
Saleh to stick there in New York? You just chalk it up with Dable saying, hey, you lost Danny Dimes. We maybe spend some bad money there. I don't know.
I mean, I would be much more comfortable scratching up the circumstances with Saleh than Dable. I think Saleh has more of an excuse than Dable does. And the Jets are playing better than the Giants, so.
I got one more for you. It's the team I told you about.
Sean McDermott?
Sean McDermott, man. I'm just saying. So I think for Bill's article, those are I think the for sure's. The Eberflus gone. You know Brandon Staley gone. You know Ron Rivera is going to leave. Yeah, probably Vrabel. But on that, outside of that list, I think it's Arthur Smith. I'm going to be watching Sean McDermott. I'd be watching both guys in New York, more solid than Dable. And another one.
Oh, you think Saleh's more likely to get fired than Dable?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think either one will get fired. Wow. But if I had to pick one, I think it'd be Saleh over Dable. I do.
Wow.
I do.
Wow.
I do. I was talking about, like, if I'm a Giants fan or if I was in the Giants organization, I think there's still a little shine on Brian Dable. Like, there's still a little something there. Like, it's still kind of like that honeymoon phase for him, and he won Coach of the Year last year. I'd give it to him. Final one, it's not a firing. Is Pete Carroll finally going to retire? 71?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Ride it out forever? Because think about that crazy carousel that you're on right now. There's legitimately a chance that you have 5 or 6 openings, which isn't crazy for the NFL. I think we see that a lot, but I think you're gonna have quite the coaching carousel this offseason. I do.
I'll say this: one coach.
Oh God, you know what I just thought of?
What? This is what I was gonna say.
What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say just one coach to monitor. I don't think he's gonna get fired. And again, he has circumstances that he can blame on this season. But Zach Taylor.
Yeah, I mean that's another one too. No. What? Oh my God. You're going to have all those head coaching openings. 5, 6, 7. You telling me they're not going to come knock on that door?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Jim Schwartz.
I knew that's where you were going.
I would hope that Jim Schwartz would politely decline and say, I had my trip through the buffet line as a head coach. I did it. He said that even like on his introductory press conference. And when he first came here, it was kind of more related to not taking over for Kevin Stefanski, and I know the Browns will come back and they'll probably, they did that to Bill Callahan, right? Because his son got the offensive coordinator job somewhere and they paid Bill Callahan. If I'm the Haslam's, I'm calling Jim Schwartz and going, obviously you can't stop them from taking head coaching opportunities, but I'd say you don't take those jobs, we'll make sure you're made right here on that. Because it just that many job openings, man, they're going to call for Jim Schwartz. They're going to come call for interviews for Jim Schwartz. God. And I don't want to deny him his opportunities if he wants it. I truly hope he just comes back and he says, you know what? I went through that. I did it. Not really for me. And I hope he stays, but we'll have to see. You want to jump right into Time Hop? 10:43 already? Let's get right to it.
All righty, let's jump into it.
Do it. All right, we head back in history. It is, of course, the 21st of November, and we go on back to tell you a little bit of history, including this day, 2021. Seen this score before, Ryan. Browns beat the Lions 13-10. This day, 2021. Not a very high-scoring game there. Nick Chubb had 130 rushing yards. Baker Mayfield, $176, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. I'd give you 1,000 guesses, Ryan, of who started at quarterback for Detroit, and I don't know if you'd get it.
What year?
2021.
2021? David Blow?
Good, great guess. No. All right, here's your hint. This guy is starting this weekend, actually.
Starting this weekend. Oh, no. Not Boyle, was it?
It is Tim Boyle.
Okay.
It was Tim Boyle. Well done. Dude, he threw for 77 yards in that game. 77 yards this day, 2021. And the Lions at that point were winless. Of course, they'd finish out that way, would they not? No. They got to win. It's the other Lions team that did it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would finish 3-13-1. In 2021 for the Lions. This day, the Browns beat them. This day, 2015. Oh, God. I mentioned this with Ben Axelrod. Number 3, Ohio State falls to number 9, Michigan State, 17-14. A team that should have won the national championship. I thought were even better than the team that won it the year prior, and Michigan State upset you, and you lost the state 2015. That loss just sticks with me so bad. It is so bad. This day, 1999, you and I had fun with this before the show. A man named John Carpenter. No, not that John Carpenter, the other one, not the Halloween guy. He became the first player to win the $1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I tweeted the clip out, and he did it in the most boss baller way possible. He gets the last question, cracks a smile, says, let me use my phone a friend and call my dad. And his dad gets on the line and he says, I don't really need your help. I just wanted to call to tell you I'm about to win the $1 million. And then answers the question correctly. What a goat. What an absolute goat. Ryan, do you know the 3 lifelines that were on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
So it's phone a friend. I know you can like split it to get only 2 answers.
50-50.
And then you can have the crowd help you.
Nice. Well done.
Thank you.
Dude, of early 2000s, 2 biggest shows going. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Whose Line Is It Anyway? The original with Drew Carey. I watched every episode of that original run. Those were some prime television viewing back in the early 2000s. Speaking of television, I would like to set this up to see if you would guess. But do you know about Who Shot JR? Have you ever heard that?
Is that Dallas?
It is Dallas. This day, 1980, 350 million people tuned in to the season premiere of season premiere of Dallas to find out who shot JR. So it was one of the most famous cliffhangers in history that happened on March 21st. So could you imagine, Ryan, having to go from March 21st to now on the calendar year to find out who did it? The episode Who Done It aired this day, 1980, with 350 million people tuning in to find out that Kristen shot JR, his scheming sister-in-law and mistress, who shot him in a fit of anger. Spoiler alert, sorry. This day, 1980, as one of the biggest episodes in TV history. This day, 1965, it was the final game that Chick Hearn would miss calling the Lakers. He had to call an Arkansas basketball game the day before, and his flight got canceled, missing the Lakers game. He would then go on to call 3,301 consecutive Lakers games. So imagine this. This day, 1965, he missed the game. Ryan, he wouldn't miss a game until the end of the 2001 season. Wow. Quite a run there.
The real
for Chick
Iron Man.
Yeah, there it is. This day, 1949, Bill Veeck sold the Indians for $2.2 million to Ellis Ryan. That was worth $27 million in today's money. Quite a little bit more money. This day, 1877, Thomas Edison announced his invention, the phonograph. Record player. There it is. Very happy birthday goes out to Stan Musial, Troy Aikman, the kid, Ken Griffey Jr., sweetest swing ever. Michael Strahan, Justin Tucker, Browns nemesis. Browns guard Wyatt Teller. Very happy birthday to Wyatt Teller out there. The Bella Twins celebrating a birthday today. And then Goldie Hawn. Overboard. Good flick there. All right, get to your movies and TV. 4. They're all movies, but I think I'm going to struggle on a few on how to describe these, okay? So first up, a film that came out this day, 2012. What is one of your favorite desserts on Thanksgiving, Ryan?
Pie.
Pie?
American Pie?
No.
Life of Pi?
Life of Pi is correct.
That's
Oh,
a
give
good
that
flick.
to you.
That's
Nice.
a good flick. That's
Yes.
a good movie.
I've never seen it. Is that the thing with when he's on the ship with the tiger?
Yes. He
Okay.
crashes, and then, he has to survive, and he's with the tiger on that little boat. Yep.
All right. That would have probably been a better way to describe it, but I had never seen it. So there you go. All right. Life of Pi. This day, 2012. We're off to a good start. This day, 2008. This spawned a series of films that I would say a lot of teenage girls fell in love with.
Yeah.
It's unfair because I'm sure there's a lot of people that like this film series.
Is it Twilight?
It is Twilight, yes.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
not
it. My wife
horrible,
read
but-
all the books.
Not bad.
I can see why people really like it. Robert Pattinson,
It's our Batman.
Kristen Stewart. I'm sure. I'm all in. All right, this day 2008. All right, this day, so you're 2 for 2. Let's see if you can keep it going. This day, 1976. One of the greatest underdog stories ever told.
So I was just thinking Rocky.
Rocky is correct.
Oh,
76. Okay. Well done.
Look at me.
There's all those stories. Well, okay, so you know the Chuck Wepner fight. Stallone watched that. Then they got sued. But then the story goes that all the studios that wanted to buy the rights to this movie, Stallone had to fight to like act in it and still want to screenwrite and all that kind of stuff, and it just obviously launched his career where it is today. Still holds up, still the best. The Italian Stallion, Carl Weathers, Tyler Scher. I mean, what a movie. 76 Rocky. All right. To go perfect on a Tuesday, right? This day, 1931. Okay. I know. 31. Oh, man. It's a monster film. To give you a
Frankenstein.
Ryan!
Drop the mic.
Yes!
Drop the mic.
Yes! I didn't know if you were going to go Dracula or Wolfman. Frankenstein is correct. 4 for 4. Hell yeah.
Thank you,
Wow.
Matt. Thank you, Matt. I was feeling energy today.
Wow. Life of Pi, Twilight, Rocky, and Frankenstein.
What a
Nice.
slate. What a
Nice.
slate.
Well done. I prefer Young Frankenstein myself, but nonetheless, Frankenstein. This day, 1931. That's how we get some Mo going. Let's get that Mo for the Cavs tonight, man.
Hell
They're in
yeah.
Philly tonight. 7.5. I've not checked. Is our boost populated?
I believe it is.
All
Matt.
right, we're up. Let me see if I can get it here. Download the Tipico app. Use that code BIGPLAY100. Here's how it works. You bet $25, you get $100 in bonus bets that you can use on up, and maybe you can even use them on our boost. There it is. It's up. Plus 400. Cavs plus 7.5. Oh, no, they messed it up.
Oh, no, they put Tyrese.
Can you text them? Can they? Oh, I'm sure they can't take it down.
Looks like we're balling with Tyrese.
All right, Tyrese Maxey, 3+. We were really meant to be Max Strus. Evan Mobley, 26+ points, rebounds, and assists. That's all right. It's plus 400. Sign up on Tipico. Use that code BIGPLAY100 when you sign up. Deposit 25, bet 25, and you'll get that $100 in bonus bets.
Maybe it'll be a good.
Well,
omen.
and the other
Like,
thing
maybe
was-
the too many Cavs things. Maybe.
I guess, but like, and if it hits, we won't complain tomorrow.
Yeah,
Trust me, we're not
exactly,
going to bitch about it
exactly.
tomorrow. But I would imagine that Max Strus, would he have longer or shorter odds than Tyrese Maxey?
I would imagine longer.
3-pointers made. Oh, no. Tyrese Maxey's only at 2.5. Oh, no. Tyrese Maxey, 2.5. Yeah. Max Strus, 2.5. Okay, they're dead equal. They're both minus 175. So trade it on out. I hope Max hits the threes, too. Dude, I'd like that. Write that down because we're going to start doing our boost. I want to do a 3-for-3 boost. All 3-point made on 3 different players. Won't do it tonight because our boost is already going on Tipico. Sign up, use that boost, go get a Maxi, but not enough. All I want is 3. All I need is 3. Get 3 of those and then be done. We'll see how it goes. Tonight's going to be a big game for the Cavs. I'm super excited. This play-in tournament thing, I don't really care about. I look at it as 76ers are one of the hottest teams in basketball, and I think the Cavs are starting to turn the corner to calm down this Donovan Mitchell bull crap that's out there, to really get some heat off of JB Bickerstaff. Make no mistake, if the Cavs kept on the path they were going, there were going to be a lot of questions about JB's job and what they were doing. I think JB Bickerstaff's a really good head coach. I don't want him to go anywhere, so I need some of these wins to just calm things down just a little bit, and I think they're close to it. This Donovan Mitchell sitting out with the hamstring. He's your star player battling a hamstring injury. I don't want him out there in November. I don't need him out there in November. I need him in February, and I need him in March. And it's not crazy to think about the big picture and all this. I'm not going to sacrifice the season for some game on a Wednesday night against the 76ers. But I know it doesn't matter because he's injured. But I thought about that of the new NBA rules, the sitting guys, right? Mm-hmm. Now, he's got a legitimate injury, so he can't play tonight. But we'll see. The other one I really want to watch is Karis LeVert. You know, we grabbed the Cavs at plus 7.5, and I think they're going to ride some momentum from that Nuggets game. I would feel a lot better if Karis LeVert can play tonight. He's questionable. We'll see how that plays out, but I think that would be a big boost for the Cavs. I'm super excited. TNT, 7:30. Perfect start time, in my opinion, for a nice primetime game there. So we'll be all watching tonight. Tomorrow, Browns back out in Berea to get that work going for Denver. Certainly a big weekend ahead. Big weekend for the Buckeyes. We'll continue Michigan. Now, here's the thing. A little update on the show. We're not going to have a show on Friday. Probably going to replay tomorrow's show. So we're going to do our NFL picks tomorrow. We'll do the Friday report card tomorrow. I want to do a special Friday report card for Ohio State, Michigan. So I'll put that on you and Ryan to get that done for tomorrow. And we will have Sonny from Tipico on tomorrow. I'm going to make a wager with him. Now, Sonny said last week he'd give me the points.
He did.
Yeah, I won't shy away from that. But we're going to make a little wager, maybe on a bottle of spirits or maybe some garage beer. Send him some garage beer. Appreciate everybody's support today. Follow us at Matt Fontana Show, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We're all over the place. Tonight, Josh and Maria Cribbs with the return. In an hour, Chico, 12 to 2. It's Tuesday. The bald, bold Browns breakdown. I throw beautiful in there. Nick Shook in with Chico today. That comes your way at noon. So keep it locked here, right here on Big Play for everything. We'll talk to you on a Wednesday edition. For Ryan Tyler, I am Matt Fontana. And as always, take it easy.